there's a bell curve of outcomes. On the left side of those outcomes, you have bad outcomes, and on the right side, you have really good outcomes. I knew the middle would be about here. We've winded up pretty far on the good side of the outcomes. Owning Danhard has gone better than I expected. Hi, my name is David Graf, and I am the owner and CEO of Danhard. Danhard is a light manufacturer. We design, assemble, and sell heating and air conditioning systems for specialty vehicles. Our primary markets are ambulances, fire trucks, armored cars, but we've got a long assortment of smaller markets, transit van conversions, animal control vehicles, really anything specialized where you're not buying an air conditioning system that's already built into a mainstream manufacturer chassis. You need something auxiliary for a specialty vehicle that you're building. That's where we come in. I worked for a software company, and during that time, I decided that buying a business would be the next step in my career path. My mom had a small home-based business making rubber stamps. When I was 12, I started working in the hot garage and really developed a love for working and earning, which eventually I think did sprout into that desire for ownership. Funny enough, my wife and I were eating lunch with another couple, and a friend of mine that we were eating with told me about his friend that bought a business, and that really captured my interest. I immediately started looking into how do people do this. My wife and I had talked about it, and she was on board as well, and so we decided this was going to be our future. We started looking for a business to buy. I first heard about the Acquisition Lab actually from an advertisement, one of the podcasts in this space called Acquiring Minds. It was something that I felt like I had to check out when I heard about it. The success stories that were included in that advertisement felt genuine, and they were, and just really prompted me to explore further. And I'm glad I did.
What I really like about David is he's a straight shooter. We don't get all this fluff and all this other stuff. If you're wrong, he'll tell you you're wrong, but he also supports you when you make decisions, and that goes a long way in the future decisions that's being made by the managers.
What helped me most from the Acquisition Lab was learning how to evaluate a deal. I think it accelerated my success. How do I work this thing from A to Z to evaluate whether this is a good business? Going it alone means you're Googling every question, you're scrounging up a loose network of people that might be willing to spend some time with you. Whereas joining the lab, I had access to all of that for a one-time fee that's lifetime access. I don't think I would have been as good at that if I had self-taught myself. Buying a business made way more sense to me. The odds of success maybe starting a business would be 10% to 90% failure. The odds of buying a business, I think, were probably flipped. It just made so much more sense of stepping into someone else's shoes, and that turned out to be the route that I pursued, and I'm so glad that I did. I stand by that decision wholeheartedly. The day that I learned Danhard was for sale, it wasn't immediately obvious to me that this would be the company I would buy. It was smaller than other companies I had put offers on previously, much smaller, but there were some things about it kind of told me to keep pursuing. Dig a little bit further before you rule it out. Danhard was founded in 1963 here in Dallas, Texas. I bought it from the founder, who was up there in age. He's 96, and tremendous respect for a man that just dedicated his life to building a terrific company. One of the ways that I gained confidence to buy Danhard is that I could see that the skills that Danhard needed were complementary to my skills. Upon learning more about the business, I knew I was open to manufacturing. So I was very open to that, even though it wasn't where I had spent the majority of my career. And it wasn't until my wife and I drove away from seeing the business here in person that we looked at each other and we said, this could be the one. Obviously, it's a big decision. There is an amount of personal risk you have to consider. And so obviously I wasn't going to do this without the two of us being fully united in the pursuit. I said, look, if we buy it and it goes about average, here's what that looks like for our life. If it goes really well, here's what that could look like. And if it goes poorly, that could end in personal bankruptcy, but here's what that would look like. And she saw what I saw, and she said, okay, let's do it. So we bought Danhard. I'd say what scared me the most about buying a business was frankly just the odds that it would fail. Despite my best efforts of diligencing the company, selecting something thoughtfully for my personal life and my family's life. A second fear, buying something and then finding out I actually hate doing what I'm doing. Part of the reason why I joined the lab was to reduce the risk of those things happening. I describe the acquisition lab as a combination of three things: advisory, education, and community. I knew I wanted to get a true learning experience of how to buy a business, not have someone who holds your hand so firmly that they do it all for you. And by going through the acquisition lab, I felt confident that I would truly learn how to buy a business, how to do it well, and get better and better at it over time. Especially considering that the lifetime membership, I can come back to ask questions about any new scenario that might come up. During the transition, you obviously have to transition customers, vendors, and employees. Employees was obviously the most critical one to nail. And so we started day one with an announcement. I don't think there was a ton of surprise because of the seller's age. I think there was probably some relief in the fact that this business will live on under new ownership.
Well, when he first came, we weren't sure. We didn't know what to expect. So we were like, okay, here we go. But he's very transparent. He brought everything to the table. He showed us what he had planned on doing for the company. And again, that brought excitement, and that just made us all feel really, really warm and fuzzy.
There were some tears. Obviously, you have these decades-long relationships, but ultimately I was able to explain who I am, what my plans are, announce things like better PTO, a 401k, better health benefits. And I'm happy to say that we've done every single thing that was on that list.
Yes, we're about work, but we're also about family, and we want to have our assemblers and shippers and receivers want to come to work, and that's the atmosphere we're trying to create. I enjoy coming to work because I feel like I'm part of this team. So it gives me a purpose. We're not just a number making units, and David has made that a priority, which is rare to come by these days.
I'm so eternally grateful that everyone gave me a chance to see if I was worth staying on for, and it's been a big success story.
He's taken us just to another level. We actually get results, and we actually get them done. That's exciting for me. You sit in meetings, you talk, and nothing ever happens. Well, it happens here, and that's exciting. And David brings that to the table.
It's been a terrific financial success, and I'm happy to say also we've made meaningful changes that improve not only my personal life, but the lives of everyone who's impacted by Danhard. Financially, the business is doing well. We are rebuilding the foundation of the building underneath us so that when I put my foot down on the accelerator for sales and marketing, we're not going to crumble. And I feel very confident that we can go forward and pursue sales and growth much more aggressively. We've got the infrastructure we need to support it and still maintain the brand promises to our customers. We've got a team that we love, and we are lockstep on a mission together to serve our customers, to serve each other, and to grow this business. And I am extremely optimistic that the trajectory we've been on can be maintained or even increased and accelerated. I feel personally more fulfilled and engaged by the work and the team and the products and the customers than I ever had in any position that I was employed in my history. And I think that's just part of the intrinsic value of owning a business. Also, from a personal perspective, if there's a kid's game or a doctor's appointment, or my wife just needs me home so that she can go do something when she's been so diligent and so dedicated to our family while I'm away at work, those are all things that you can do as a business owner that are not as easy in many W-2 employee positions. We are now living in our dream home, and I know for a fact that we would not have made that decision or been able to do that if we had not purchased Danhard and made that decision to buy a business. I think my life changed for the better when I joined the acquisition lab. It gave me, I think, a confidence that I would never have had if I had gone it alone. It was easily one of the best decisions I've ever made for my career, my fulfillment, and my family.